announcement this evening promising a strictly conservative campaign.
My record shows that I know how.
Training the new guy back there. There you go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Public Works Finance Committee meeting of Monday, July 13. On my right, Jim Boland, City Council member. To my left, Art Bedke, City Council member. And sitting in for Gary Reed and the City Supervisor today will be Bill Belknap. I'm Walter Steed. The first item of business is approval of the minutes of the June 8 meeting.
Good by me.
Good by me.
I'll abstain since I wasn't.
You were not an attendee, so we'll consider them approved with Art and myself. The second item is Cassie Macy to bring the disbursement report for June 2015, and playing the part of Cassie will be
And never looked
Don
lovelier.
Palmer.
Not quite as cute as Cassie is.
Hello, Don.
It's a matter of opinion, Don.
The new software, when someone is assigned to, in the past we've had people assigned to it, but when you develop the CCSR, it puts the responsible person on there. So I don't know if that's a permanent thing or not. It's new software. Today I'm doing the June 2015 disbursements report, and we had $1,707,862.38 of expenditures for the month of June. They're represented by the following categories. Payroll, $953,246, and it's a little higher than as we get into the seasonal aspects of the part-time wages. Also in professional services, $139,855. That's represented by a number of things. 30,000 of that is the third quarter payment for Smart Transit. We've had some Moscow School District ball playfield monies for $18,300. 6th and Jackson Street for $11,100 for some not remediation, just assessment, I believe still. Parks activities is about $9,000, meaning that we're paying professional services for the reimbursement for their activities, for the programs that are done out there. Seat belts grant is a reimbursement grant for $4,080, and some water tests for about $7,000, just to give you an idea of what makes up that money. Sanitation is normal, $248,678. Contractual payments, $24,153. That's the janitorial, the rent for the Magar building, and the Humane Society and Heart of the Arts. Supplies, $42,214. Construction, $25,260. All of that is sidewalk money. Vehicles, $47,612. Did discover an error in that. She had actually added $25,260 too much, so we'll correct that before it goes to City Council. It is just one vehicle, and the cost of that vehicle is about $22,000.
So that line item number will change.
That line item will change. Utilities, $72,140. Equipment, $13,151, which is the moose out at the pool. Improvements, $24,130.
That's not a real moose. That's a slide.
A slide.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Improvements, $24,113, which are water meters, and insurance, $7,099, for a total of those categories of $1,597,521, which is 94% of the total. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Good by me.
And with that,
Approve the report with the change about the vehicle.
Yeah. Have you sign that? I guess I could have took it out of the book.
We'll make it a little easier.
Thank you.
Okay, Don, anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the next item will be Elisa Anderson with a state-local agreement for the middle schools SR25 safety improvements. And this is the D Street project, I believe.
Yes.
And Scott Bontrager is helping. He's going to explain the project a little bit, maybe?
If necessary.
Yeah, we'll go through the process just a little bit. We applied for this grant a little over 2 years ago, and it was the first time that they had community choices. They kind of wrapped in Safe Routes to School and some other programs that they've had with ITD into this one program. And so we actually, though, applied for a project that they're calling a Safe Routes to School project. So we were awarded the grant, and over the last year, they've been working on the development of the project with the engineer that was hired to assist with the design. And so now they've brought forward to us the construction contract for us to move forward with the actual implementation of the project. And Scott's worked closely with the engineer and with the school district, so I'll let him give you more of the details.
Yeah, a brief description of kind of what's happening with this particular project is out on D Street. It's going to be what we would refer to as a road diet on the street, where we're going to be shrinking it down to having two 12-foot lanes either direction, as opposed to the wide open area that we have, and a lot more pedestrian area on the sides. So we'll have a bulb out similar to like College Street. We'll have a lot more walking surface out there. Tree-lined streets, stamped and colored concrete. The crosswalks will be stamped and colored. And we'll also have a rapid flash beacons that'll be used at those particular ones that are pedestrian activated, which will be switched out for the current blinking red lights that we have, or the blinking yellow ones that we have out there. And then we'll also be adding a 10-foot shared use path on the western side of the middle school's upper parking lot up there that'll connect from D up to Garfield up there.
A 10-foot?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then some other improvements here and there throughout the middle school. We'll be adjusting their eastern parking lot to allow better flow through that parking lot, since we'll be also channelizing the entrance and exit through that area too, of what's currently just basically street grade crossing through there. Now the sidewalk will actually be up higher, and we'll have a true sidewalk going through that area.
Are we going to lose that wonderful, surprising, angled pedestrian crossing that's been
Yes.
there for 50 years?
Yeah, the crosswalks are going to be a lot shorter. Instead of the 60, 70 feet of crossing, now they're going to be narrowed down to more like 25 feet.
And will we still have the parking down at Egan on both sides that we've got now? We won't lose any parking?
No, the parking shouldn't be. It's, pretty minimal effect down there.
For a while, they had the idea of a median down the middle. Is that still there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's in portions of it. It has been scaled back compared to what it used to be, just to allow better access for vehicles to get in and out of the parking lots.
It eliminates the parking where you could back right out of by the tennis courts onto the street, and you couldn't see, and the kids were crossing at the same spot. So it's made that area a lot safer. So.
Can you pass your picture around?
Yeah. It's a very simplified version of the design.
Elisa, on the CCSR, it says that necessary resources impacts capital projects budget, et cetera, but it doesn't have a dollar amount. Is that 40,000? Is that the match?
Yes, but we've already put some money into the project through the design phase.
Okay.
Actually, Scott just gave this to me because he had just gotten this back from ITD. It looks like we have an additional $29,000 to spend, almost $29,516. We originally sent them a check for $10,000 with the development contract,
Okay.
state local agreement, and so they've subtracted that from the original amount, and so our remaining balance is the $29,916.
Okay. You may want to reflect that in the CCSR that goes to council.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, sir?
No, but I'd recommend the approval of state-local agreement for construction,
Okay.
and on up to full council.
Timing?
This project will be built next summer after school gets out. And it'll be completed in conjunction, the school districts themselves are going to do a parking lot project, and it's all has to be completed before the students get back.
So summer of 16.
Yep.
Yes, sir. You
Seems
good?
reasonable.
Any reason it can't go on consent? Okay. Okay with you?
Yep, yes, it is.
All right, thank you.
So we have a corresponding agenda or a resolution with the next agenda item. Under our new software, we have to do those separately. And so your next item is the resolution that goes along with the state-local agreement.
I have one question on the resolution.
Okay.
In the electronic packet, it appears to be in there twice, or
Yes.
are they different?
It's also a software fluke, and we know how to fix that. And we've already discussed it. Thank you.
So we're on it. We're being asked to approve one of these.
Just one.
Okay.
They're exactly the same. Yes.
So, Bill, with the resolution, then, can it go on consent? Okay. You good?
Resolution number 2015, is that what we're doing?
2015 dash whatever the next number is.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item will be Scott Bontrager again with a well number 10 site grading bid results and contract award request.
Let me get the screen turned on. So this project is in anticipation of the drilling for well number 10 that's going to happen this fall. This will be the site grading to essentially lower the site down to a usable pad. I'll forward it to this one so you can kind of see the elevation change that we have out here. From the east, it slopes up towards the peak up there about 30 feet. So this project is looking to cut out and move about 4,000 cubic yards and push it from the west to the east, reusing of that 4,000 about 1,500 on site for fill, and then lowering it down so that it's just slightly above street level on the west side of it. So going back to this, you can kind of see there on the west side how much of a cut we have, and then over to the east where it's fill. And then the balance line of where we go from cut to fill kind of runs down along here. So this project was put out to bid June 26, was solicited to 3 local contractors. We got 2 bids back. One from McCall's Classic Construction of Clarkston for, their bid was $89,390.66, and then Germer Construction gave us a bid of $66,535.45, of which our estimate for this project was $71,797.50. So Germer's bid came in as the low bid and was underneath the engineer's estimate. So our recommendation would be for council to approve the bids and award the contract.
Scott, you can't use the existing driveway cut and access down in the southeast corner because
Yeah.
you're going to be filling right there in front of that. Is that a manhole that we're looking at?
No, this is a screen capture from Google.
Huh?
Screen capture from Google.
Oh, okay. So you can't use that because you got to fill right there in front of it. So that's why you're going in up at the, what would that be, the southwest corner?
Yeah.
Okay. And there's no retaining walls involved? It's all
No.
going to be natural slope when you get through?
Yeah, it's all going to be natural slope, and we've got the fill down here, and we've got all of this is coming back at a 2-to-1 slope, and it'll all be revegetated and everything under a separate contract.
So they're going to actually have to work on that slope you just pointed at?
This will become a slope, I mean a 2-to-1 slope after we cut out
Okay.
all of this right here.
So the work will be the cutting out, it'll be a slope left
Yeah.
behind? Okay.
Yeah, cutting out, carving out through here, and then bringing some of that material and filling down here.
Okay, and then my other question is, that's a pretty large pad for a well.
Mhm.
What, you going to build a well house on it that fills up the rest of it instead of just that 10-inch pipe, or what?
The well house needs to be sited, in the well itself needs to be sited on the cut side. So since it's balancing across here, the cut side here, which is the undisturbed, is where we'd be locating the well house over there. Plus, we'll also need to allow for the expansion of other things. You know, eventually it's going to have on-site power generation, on-site chlorination, on-site filtration. So there's other accessory things that will be on site out there too that we'll need the room for. And during construction and also for maintenance, they need the room for the crane to come in, be able to pull out and maintain the different components in there, and it needs a site for laying down its equipment and everything too.
So you need the elbow room.
Need the elbow room.
Yes, sir. Anything?
I'm good with it.
Straightforward to me. Flatten it out and dig a well.
Okay. I believe we will approve that. And consent agenda?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving right along. Les McDonald with a Water Rights Assessment Services Contract Proposal.
Good afternoon. Well, we've talked before about water right issues and pending adjudication of the Palouse River Basin, things that are in our future. We had a presentation here a month or so, 2 months ago now, I think, about the adjudication process coming to North Idaho. Originally, it was anticipated that would get started as early as next month with some informational meetings. They were heading that way and trying to set up some scheduling for that. Recently, I've heard that they have pushed that schedule back to next March due to unforeseen issues on their end, being IDWR, Idaho Department of Water Resources. In the meantime, that does give us a bit more time to address some issues that we would like to address prior to the start of the adjudication process. That is primarily first looking at our current water rights situation. What do we have in terms of rights? Are there any issues surrounding those rights in terms of their type of use or place of use or date of primacy, or date of origin? So that assessment process is something that would be handled under this initial contract that is before you today, working with Christian Petrick from SPF Engineering out of Boise. In conjunction with Christian, we would also be working with the law firm of Bromley and Hughes to assist from the legal aspect in terms of how you deal with adjudication and modification of water rights, because these are legally binding type of documents with the state. We have already retained Bromley and Hughes for their services. This would be, in essence, the retainer for SPF, if you will, so that SPF can assist us on the water production side of it, the engineering side of it as well. This is a not-to-exceed time and materials type contract, so it's one of those that as we need services, as the work progresses, they bill us for what they are doing. When we reach a point where we say, stop, you're done. Part of what we'll be looking at in this process prior to adjudication is whether or not we propose any modifications to our existing water rights as it relates to places of use. Something that we've considered over the years is whether or not we do a consolidation or add places of use within the system so that we have a little more flexibility in terms of which well we're operating from than perhaps we have today. So that's one of the first tasks we'll be looking at. As we go into the adjudication process, we'll be looking at other items such as date of origin of the wells, what's the water right priority date that is established. There are some changes there that need to be made, and so they will assist us in that process as well. So I guess that's what I have for the moment. So if you have questions, I will attempt to answer those.
Question, just a comment that being as critical as it is to the city's future, getting the homework done before the adjudication process begins is super critical. So I would really say go, yes, start.
And along that line, part of what they're going to be doing here is helping us with determining just what exactly we need to make the best case for our claims as we get into the adjudication process. And we've already started gathering a lot of that information internally. So.
The legislature still hasn't appropriated money for this adjudication as of this year, have they?
Well,
they have to go through that process before they can even begin.
There was work on that this spring where they essentially gave the approval, and I believe they did finalize that.
That's how we first learned about this. They were putting, sort of slipping, they were putting this in their budget. It was in a line item in their budget for this.
Right.
That was approved by the legislature, to my memory.
So as far as I know, they have the green light to proceed, and it's just more of a scheduling issue.
And when they delayed it didn't give any reason why they had internal problems about moving ahead. They just said, we've got problems.
Oops.
So Bromley and Hughes' work is not part of this request.
That is correct.
And when did we approve that?
I believe there was
I don't remember.
it was a letter of retention, I believe, that went out of administration a couple months ago.
Administrative committee?
No, administration. Upstairs, yeah.
Did not go through council.
Not that I'm aware of. I think there was a briefing on it at some point, Gary mentioned, but I'm not sure.
Anything about
I don't remember it.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Can you, Bill, could you research that and let us know? And should we have seen it? I mean, if we're approving a small $7,000 contract for engineers to do work on it, did we just hire some attorneys whose rates, I'm sure, are much larger than the ones listed here for the engineers?
I'll check with administration. We can certainly research that and report it back to the committee.
Okay, yeah, let us know, or if you want or need to, it could be done as part of approving this item at council. Otherwise, I've got no problem with this and
I think we need
going
to
on
move
consent.
forward, yeah.
Yeah, but I would like to know about the attorney situation.
Okay.
Since none of us remember it.
Could be us.
Okay, anything else, Les?
That's
Okay, yeah, we'll move this forward. Is there any chance, will there be a consideration of separating wells 9 and 10? At the current time, the water right for 10 is
It's actually the water right for 9 with 2 points of diversion,
Yeah.
being 9 and 10.
exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, originally when we first started talking about moving well 10 forward, there was discussion about whether or not we applied for a separate right for well 10. And I guess the flavor of the council at the time did not support that approach, and the idea was that it was more acceptable to just add a second point of diversion, continue on the route of well 10 being truly a redundant well in the system, so you'd operate one or the other. I guess I had always looked at it from perspective someday perhaps we would consider whether we should change that to something else. We've not brought that back. If we were to pursue what I would call the pooling of the rights, essentially what it does is add points of diversion to each water right within your system. So, for instance, well 9 has well 10 attached to it. You could also add wells 2, 3, and 6, and 8 to it. So then that water right could be used for any of the wells that are in the system. And you would do that for each water right that you have. That's in essence how you do a combination or consolidation of rights. That would then give us operational flexibility to operate any of the wells in whatever method or means were necessary to meet the water demands on the system at that time. A lot more flexibility in the system. So that is something that we would be looking at in this process, would be a consolidation rather than a separation. It would be more of an addition of points of diversion.
Could 9 and 10 be run together without affecting each other?
Well, certainly there would be some hydraulic influence one to the other. When we drill well 10 and do well testing, pump testing, we will be monitoring at well 9 to see what that influence is. There are estimates for what that influence would be from our consultants on wells 9 and well 4 and another one from U of I. So it is anticipated that you will see some drawdown at those other wells in the vicinity when well 10 is operating at full capacity. most likely the system would support being able to operate both those wells simultaneously based on what we know about it today. Obviously, as we go further along, we'll learn more.
Okay, well, we'll move this forward through consent and see where we go.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's the agenda items on today's regular meeting agenda. We have a report item from Tyler Palmer on wastewater conveyance system. Can't wait. Have no idea what they're talking about.
Good day.
All right, gents. Well, appreciate you guys having us today. This is the first in a series of reports that we plan on doing out of our operations division in the Public Works Department. And what we want to do is just have each division within our department come and just kind of explain a little bit about what they do. One of the things that I think draws a lot of us that work in operations on the public works side to the work is the need basis of the work. It's attractive that you're providing things that people need in order to be able to live together in close proximity. And so that's something that we really enjoy. And I know a lot of times these guys do such a good job that people don't know what exactly they do. They'll see trucks out in the road, or they'll see people out and about. And some people's jobs are a little more apparent what they're doing than others. You know, when somebody's patching a street, you can kind of tell that they're patching a street. When they're painting a crosswalk, you can tell they're painting a crosswalk or trimming a tree. The division that we're talking about today is the division that Tony supervises for us. Tony Waters is a 25-year employee with the city, working with our wastewater conveyance department. And Tony's division is responsible for our wastewater conveyance for our sewer system, for making sure that the wastewater makes it from your house out to the treatment plant. And so today we're just going to talk a little bit about the system and about what Tony and his crew do to maintain that system, and then we'll field any questions you guys might have as we move along. One of the things that we've been working on and that Tony's just put a lot of work into recently is putting together a new cleaning rotation. And the cleaning rotation is really important. This map here shows the different drainage areas, and Tony will explain this in more depth as he gets into his presentation. But this is a result of a lot of work he's put together to organize the cleaning and make sure that we're doing it in a very systemic way and making sure that we get everything done in order. And then also another thing that we've been working on, I'll just touch briefly on it, was discussed in the budget meetings today, the coordination with the university. The University of Idaho doesn't have its own cleaning equipment, and so one of the things that we've really been working towards is a good cleaning rotation for them and working with them on a mutual aid agreement, a way that we can help them out and make sure that we cover the city's costs in the process, and that's something we've been working toward with them and had a lot of success on in the past several months. So with that, I'm going to let Tony go ahead and explain to you guys what it is that he does with his department.
Gentlemen, how are you? Good. There's 4 of us that run the sewer department, or work in the sewer department. We maintain 450,000 linear feet of sewer pipe, ranging in size from 4-inch to 36-inch, ranging, there's PVC, clay, concrete, cast iron, Orangeburg. A lot of the system is aging and needed some attention, but with 4 of us, sometimes it's hard to get to there. We maintain and operate 4 sewage lift stations. We have the Mall lift station located at west of town at the Palouse Empire Mall. It picks up everything from Baker Street West to the border.
That's pretty sweet.
And then it pumps 365 feet to the south to the wastewater treatment plant. Next we have the Orchard. It picks up everything from Highland, north of Highland, to the north, and it pumps 1,200 feet to Highland on Orchard Avenue. Just to give you an idea of the locations. Next is the Southeast Lift Station, located in the Southeast Sewer District, east of town. It pumps west to Mountain View and then north to almost to Les Schwab. It picks up south of 8, east of Mountain View and Ridgeview, Wild Rose area, and it pumps 5,000 feet. And last is the South Lift Station, our newest one. This one was just redone, 5-6 years ago. It pumps up 95 to about Steiner. It picks up everything south of Alpoa and Bora and Ridge Road, and then the Grove and east to Nursery Everything in that area dumps into that wet well and pumps it to the north. All in an effort to get it out to and make sure that the flow is continuous to the treatment plant. Another little aerial shot.
My car.
And we are involved in a lot of activities to assure that the flow gets to the treatment plant. One is our cleaning rotation. This just shows the drainage areas and how it all works, and one area drains to another, which drains to another, and typically the lines get bigger and bigger as these drainage areas go. And this is a 2 to 3 year rotation with cleaning, and then you break down this is just a breakdown of the drainage area, a smaller area, and then it just breaks down into a smaller area. It's just like the system in your house. It starts out with smaller pipes and drains to a larger pipe, which leads to one pipe out of your property. Some of the equipment we use
Let me ask you a question
Sure.
before you move to
Sure.
that. For years, we had a fairly large-sized dry pipe down around the south couplet that had been put in anticipation of future work. Is that now in use?
Well, it's not dry, but it's not being used.
We have a trunk line project that will continue, and so there is still a section of that pipe that's still not in use. There's a section that'll still continue down to be tied in.
Okay.
We actually have a phase of the trunk line project that'll take place next summer that runs through Gormley Park area that will tie down through to that area.
Okay. And that will be working off of that south lift station?
Eventually, it'll go to that. It'll come. Right now, it comes down to Sweet Avenue and heads west.
From the
lift station. When the lift station gravity is at the top of the hill, eventually it's going to continue on north to that trunk line, and eliminate a lot of the flow going through that Sweet Avenue system right now.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
You were going to talk about equipment.
Yeah, some of the equipment that we use to maintain the lines and ensure the flow to the treatment plant is our vac-on. This is a hydro cleaner. You can see the reel on the front. It also has a vac, so we get a lot of debris back when we run the nozzle at the lines and pull all this debris back. We have a way to get it out with the vac, which we didn't have up until about 3 or 4 years ago. You had to hand scoop it out, which wasn't very effective, but
We had this vacuum out at our art walk event, and we'd put down coins on the ground and then suck them up so the kids could hear and see it, and they really enjoyed that. But this generates quite a lot of vacuum power, and so this nozzle goes down into the manhole, and the jet will feed out into the line, into the ground, and pull debris back, and then the vacuum vacuums the debris out of the line.
You had the same number of kids after you did that as you started?
We're not sure. We're not positive, but we've asked Todd to keep a good eye out for him at the plant.
And then some of the nozzles that can go on the end of the hose, there's just a variety of different nozzles. That would be one for cutting roots. We get a lot of roots in our lines. And then a variety of different nozzles for different jobs. There's penetrator nozzles, there's cleaning nozzles, there's chain cutters, there's just everyday cleaning nozzles.
Were you the guys that put up the video of that giant root wad?
We've actually got that in this presentation, Art.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I love that.
Another weapon in
I'll
our...
touch on this.
Yeah,
this
go
is
ahead.
something that, Tony's guys really, it takes a lot of training. There's a lot of expertise. When you get out, a lot of the problems that they encounter, knowing the order and how to approach the problems when there's a backup. Just when you talk to these guys, you'd be amazed at the institutional knowledge they have about the system. You'll mention a street and they'll say, "Oh yeah, 3 manholes up. There's a willow tree on the right-hand side. There's a lot of roots that come from that. So you're going to have to run a penetrator first, then run a cutter through, then run the cleaner through and pull it back." And it's just things like that that if you didn't have that knowledge of the equipment and just the institutional knowledge of the system, you could spend a lot of time with sewage backing up, and we'll show you in a video later why that can be a really big deal.
And all this equipment takes training on how to use. This is our CCTV truck for TV in the inside of the lines. That's the control room that we operate it from.
So that room's inside this truck.
Yeah.
And it has a camera unit on wheels that's put in the line. So it'll go up and it crawls up the line so you can actually inspect the line. And so we've got a 5-year rotation on our line inspections so that we can know what's going on out there. So this is a really useful tool, but again, it's something that it takes some know-how to learn how to use the thing.
Other maintenance activities we do are smoke testing to locate I&I sources. And
I&I is inflow and infiltration. That's when we're getting surface water into the sewer line. We don't want to get surface water into the sewage because then we have to treat it at the plant, and it costs us money because that becomes a capacity issue for the plant.
Next are some numbers.
Do you smoke test the entire system on some rotation basis?
Yes, yes, that's the plan.
Eventually get through the whole thing.
Yep.
And you've been doing that for quite a while. So
Quite a while.
So you don't find a whole lot?
Well, it just depends. We document everything we find with a picture and an explanation of what we found, and it's very detailed.
There's, when you smoke, you find there's things that we regularly find that.
A lot of them are easy fixes, broken clean-out caps, maybe, stuff like that. But there are some that aren't as easy. But most of them are very fixable.
Some things you can find are like cross connections where the storm's been tied to the sewer, so that you're getting a lot of water from those. So things like that are really important.
That diagram
to find.
just gives you an idea of what the smoke does, what it shows us. This shows the numbers on a normal total flow day for the treatment plant, and then you can see the bottom one in yellow, 3/4 of an inch of rain from the 1.67 million gallons a day to the 2.77. So a million extra gallons a day.
So this is why an ISO is so important to us. Is on a day without rain, this was the flow on May 10th. Then when we had 3/4 of an inch of rain on the 13th, we spike 1 million gallons per day. So it really can make a big difference.
And if we can identify those and fix them, that really, it makes a big difference. So, and then another activity we do is dye testing. We get a lot of requests for individuals wanting to know where they tie into the sewers, into the city sewer. So we put flush dye down their toilet. That way, it's 100% that it's theirs. It just indicates that that's where they come out. Other reasons would be for engineering, when we need to know how many services are on a particular line for a project or something.
Why would an individual want to know where it ties into the sewer?
Well, we end up doing some investigatory work.
I thought most people, if you pull the handle and it goes away, that's the last you need to know.
That's the problem.
Well, most people, that's what they care about. Some people, if an individual is going to replace their private lateral line, and they need to let this contractor know, okay, hey, this is where I tie in. This is where you're going to have to excavate out to. Especially a lot of the older lines, there's not great documentation of where the lateral's at, what comes in where, and so a lot of this is research work to find out where that stuff is at and to be able to document it so that we know where everything's coming in. I want to talk a little bit about the capital aspect of the program. As Tony mentioned, we do have a lot of old pipe out there, and we discussed in our budget meetings today some of the rate increases in sewer as part of the rate study, and a big part of that is to be able to aggressively address our aging infrastructure. We have about $700,000 per year coming online for mainline replacements for the sewer, which are very critical. We have a lot of clay pipe out there, and the clay pipe is really bad for I&I. It also lets roots in, and then it's subject to collapse. And so Tony and his staff have done a great job creating priority lists. We're in the process of doing project coordination in the Public Works Department, and so Tony's got a list that he's generated of priorities. These guys, when you want to know what's wrong with the sewer, you ask these guys, where does it need to be fixed? They're the eyes and ears out there, and they know exactly. They'll tell you, hey, this one has this problem, this one has this problem. So we've got a list that we're going to be working down through to address those and get a really aggressive plan put together so that we can really start to get our main lines replaced. And there are a lot of different methods that we can use in the sewer. Not always is it dig up the street. Technology's allowed us. There's a method called pipe bursting, which is when they actually go through and burst the original pipe and pull a new pipe in behind it. There's lining. If you have a pipe that is structurally fairly sound, you can line that pipe, and then as it.
You just did a contract.
We did. Right? We'll be doing it. We'll be doing a decent project of lining this summer, and when that cures, that actually cures structurally, and so if the clay pipe then erodes off around the cured in place pipe, then it's a new pipe in the ground. And we discussed the project coordination efforts. So yeah, it's all really important. It's important stuff that, like I said, it's not hyper visible. People don't really know about it. Like Walter said, usually it's if I flush and it goes away, then I'm good. But the reason that we can flush and it goes away is because of the efforts of Tony and his staff and what they're doing. So we've got a couple more. We indicated that we had a demonstration of why it's important what they do and why it's important that they do that.
This is someone's finished basement that they were living in.
Yeah, it does look finished.
Yeah, exactly.
A small stream of raw sewage running through their home.
Jeez. It's disgusting.
And then this is the one Art was referring to. It's kind of neat to see. A lot of people see Tony's staff and their vehicles parked in the road somewhere, and they'll think, "Oh, what's that city truck just doing parked there?" And what they don't realize is this is what's actually going on. That there's
an
an
operator.
operator there.
Situation here. This is very unique. It's a large.
This was a very large
21-inch line.
and a very large root ball that was in that line.
Now, that cutter doesn't turn and cut. It just is pulled hard enough.
It's that cutter's meant to turn and go forward, but because the length of the root ball was so long, we had to run the nozzle through it up to the manhole, put that on, and bring it back and pull it because it wouldn't cut through that long root ball.
Okay.
It was the only way to get that thing out of there.
But normally on a single root or two, it'll...
Yes. The smaller versions, exactly. Yeah, it rotates and goes up.
And then
and
you
left.
guys may have noticed the amazing aerial footage. Tony has a pet hawk that he strapped that to. No.
Cool.
Tony actually, I really want to thank Tony. He put a lot of work into the presentation. He actually went out on his own time. He has a drone, and he took the footage of all of those facilities up on his own and put all of this together. And I really appreciate him doing it. You know, this isn't always. Some of these guys, the reason they like their job is because they don't have to sit in meetings like this, and so I really appreciate him coming to do this for us. And
you didn't have to explain to the nice policeman what you were doing out there with that drone?
Actually, no, not yet. Not yet.
Any questions for me or for Tony about our conveyance system?
I found out this last weekend. You're not supposed to have them at dams, though.
Damn.
Dam.
So,
Granite dam not allowed.
Yeah.
No, it was one down around Meridian.
I think, yeah, they get really excited at the White House, too, I understand.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
No, nice presentation. Good.
no questions, but this wouldn't be a bad one for the rest of the council to see because it's a great presentation and brings people up to date on what goes on subsurface that we don't usually think about. So, really good presentation. I would
We'd
say
be
if
happy
we
to give
have
the presentation to council if
if
you'd
we
like.
have some space sometime at the end of a meeting, it'd be a good one to bring on.
You want to talk to the mayor and Dan and Gary?
That's what you get for making a really good presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
gentlemen.
both. We do
for your
appreciate
time.
it.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? That's the last item we've got on the agenda.
No, sir.
It's a done deal.
Okay. We're adjourned. Thank you all.